Before I begin, I have a quick reminder. If this channel can hit 5,000 subscribers by July, I'll make a video talking about the entirety of the Kingdom Keepers book series. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you so much, and enjoy the video. Every once in a while, I get comments asking me to cover a specific Haunted Mansion character. I love getting stuff like that, and I want to get to them all eventually. If you'd like to speed up the process, check out my Patreon. Anyways, a while back, one of my viewers asked me to talk about the birthday girl in the ballroom, so thank you for suggesting that. I didn't think there was enough there, but then I got an idea. Hey, why not take this opportunity to talk about all the table ghosts? This is going to be the start of a new type of episode on this show, where I talk about a group of related characters in the same video. They might not have enough to say in their own video, but put them all together, and they certainly can. So please sit back in your doom buggy and mind your manners as we enter the creepy old crypts once more. Many of the earliest stories of the mansion involved some kind of ghostly gathering. A wedding in the Bloodmere Manor and Lonesome Manor stories, or just a regular old party in others. There really isn't any deep reasoning as to why. Parties are just a decent excuse to put a bunch of characters together in the same room. Isn't that what social gatherings are all about? Getting together with a wide range of people that you only mildly know or care about? And with the retirement home storyline, you don't really need to worry about them fitting together. It's a home for ghosts all over the world, so you can add as much variety as you want. At least in theory. Mark Davis, as usual, was the one to first envision the dining room table. A few of the characters he designed were chosen for the ride, and the rest of the table was filled out as they saw fit. Which, okay, but why did they choose to make it a birthday party? That's a pretty simple explanation. Irony. Birthdays are supposed to celebrate life. You live through another year on this hellish planet, and that's worth celebrating. Which is why it's ironic that a bunch of dead people are celebrating. Some sources have interpreted it as a death day party, hence this video's title. I mean, if living people can celebrate their births, why can't dead people celebrate their deaths? In the Ride story, we encounter them right after the seance room. The spirits received our sympathetic vibrations and have finally begun to show themselves, stepping into the spotlight. Before we met Madame Leota, a majority of the ghosts were hidden away, and you only caught glimpses of them. Now, here they all are in the undead flesh. This is also where the tone of the attraction begins to change. The earlier scary undertones are starting to fade away, and we're beginning to learn that the ghosts aren't all bad. It helps set up later scenes, like the graveyard. And from a real-world aspect, the scene as a whole is just a gigantic set piece for special effects. All the ghosts in the ballroom achieve their ghostly appearance through what's called Pepper's Ghost. There are other episodes where we can explain this effect in depth, so that'll be a topic for another day. The table ghosts phase in and out every few seconds, appearing then disappearing before your eyes. I believe that's accomplished by a light above them turning on and off. When the lights go off, the ghosts disappear. When it comes back on, they reappear. So we've talked about the context, the reason why the scene is the way it is, and its role in the story. Let's get on to the actual party attendants. I think it will be easiest to go through each ghost one by one and explain their character and inspirations that way. The far end of the table is usually reserved for the head of the household, so it makes sense that it's home to the highest ranking official here, a Roman emperor. Many stories about ancient Rome involve death, then ghosts, and the supernatural, so including one makes sense. Figuring out which one he's supposed to be is a no-brainer. It's obviously Julius Caesar. Yes, I know he was never actually emperor, but that doesn't really matter. When you think of Roman officials, you think of Julius Caesar. And he's best known for the way he died, so including him in an attraction like this makes sense. One of the most famous portrayals of him, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, involves him coming back as a ghost. In fact, Great Caesar's Ghost was once a common expression, basically meaning, oh my god. If you're a Superman fan, you'll know that Perry White, the editor of the Daily Planet, used it a lot. The idea was originally Ken Anderson's in his famous Ghost draft, and Mark Davis thought it was funny enough to put into his concept art. So, it's both a reference to history and a visual pun. Hidden away next to him is a little man peeking from the table below. Here, he's just a surprised man. But, believe it or not, he has a connection to a spooky family I'm sure you're all familiar with. In Mark Davis's original drawings and maquettes, he wasn't a man. They were a short cartoon blob peeking from under the table. They are believed to be inspired by a character from Charles Addams' original Addams Family illustrations. You often saw him peeking out from somewhere in the background. He wasn't given a name in the comics, but he eventually evolved into Thing, the Walking Hand. To further the connection, in the plans, he's called Small Thing. Addams Family had a bigger impact on the Haunted Mansion than you'd think. It might be worth exploring in the future. Sitting next to him is a king, just a regular old European king in a crown. Next to him is another gentleman with a beard. The Death Girl is at the end of the table, blowing out her candles. Once again, the ends of the table are usually reserved for the most important people, so putting the Death Day Girl there makes sense. And underneath the table, some poor bastard is lying there drunk. Alcohol is actually a running theme in the Haunted Mansion, and it's for a technical reason. If the characters moved too quickly, then the whole figure would jerk. But if they swayed side to side, then the movement was more fluid. And to explain the movement away, they had most of them drinking. But the question still stands. Can ghosts get drunk? Feel free to get into fights about it in the comments. The other notable character at the table isn't any of the ghosts. It's the setting. The table is neatly set, though there appears to be no food here, aside from the birthday cake. Another question to debate. Can ghosts eat? The flatware is Blue Italian by Spode at Disneyland, and Romantic England bread by J&G Meakin at the Magic Kingdom. The glasses are King's Crown glassware in cranberry in both mansions, and the Tokyo Mansion is believed to have King's Crown for the entire plating. So if you want to set your table like the Haunted Mansion in your home, hit up your local antique mall to find them. I say this like I don't own one of those glasses myself. And yes, 3 of the plates on the right end are arranged to be a hidden Mickey. This was not intentioned by the Imagineers. Hidden Mickeys weren't really a thing when the Haunted Mansion was built. Instead, it was done by cast members. When installing everything, they never glued down the plates. No one's gonna be down there, so you don't have to worry about klepto guests. So one day, a cast member went down there and arranged the plates to look like a hidden Mickey. It's become tradition ever since. So without cast members, we wouldn't have one of the most well-known hidden Mickeys in the park. During Haunted Mansion Holiday, all of the ghosts but the Emperor and the Birthday Girl disappear. That's because on top of the dining table, there's always a gigantic gingerbread house on display. It's always one of the highlights of the overlay, and a draw for guests to come visit. As for Phantom Manor, the ballroom table does exist, but an entirely new cast of characters is seated in it. Unlike the mishmash of ghosts from around the world at the mansion, the Manor's ghosts are all dressed like they came from the time period. According to the ride's backstory, all of the residents of the manor either died in the Thunder Mesa earthquake, or they're the Phantom's buddies just having a party. If we're to believe the former, then it makes sense that they're dressed in period clothing. If it's latter, I guess Victorian garb is required if you want to be in the Phantom's posse. Of course, the Death Day Party is one of the most iconic images of the entire attraction. So it's been portrayed, to some extent, in almost every piece of Haunted Mansion media that exists. It'd be impossible to catalog all of them, but here are some highlights. The Marvel comic used the ballroom as kind of a hub for all the ghosts who are under the Captain's curse, so a couple of the ballroom ghosts are present for it. In the Molly McGee crossover, Molly is trying to liven up the Death Day Girl's party by hanging a bunch of balloons and banners around the ballroom. And Scratch proceeded to eat the cake in one piece, angering her. In the IDW comic, some of the ghosts greet Sydney and welcome her when she arrives, the Emperor being the most prominent of them all. A dinner scene does exist in the film, clearly inspired by the attraction, but the only ghost at the table is Gracie. It's used for exposition and as an excuse to get the Evers stuck at the mansion. And Muppets Haunted Mansion chose not to do a one-to-one recreation of the party, and simply filled the table with a wide range of Muppets. It also appears to be a party for Kermit's nephew Robin, who's dressed like Tiny Tim.
And Tiny Tim, who did not die?
Oh, isn't that swell?
There isn't much more to say about the Death Day party. It's an iconic scene for a reason. It's so well executed that it's no wonder that it sticks in people's brains. But there are, of course, other characters that we must meet. So please sit back in your doom buggy and we will proceed in the next episode. Thanks for watching.